Hello Nippies, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Nips, a freelance artist. And today, you read the title right, we're going to be working on an illustration for Legends of Runeterra, a card game made by Riot Games. And they're just my favorite card game, so I'm so honored and ecstatic to have worked with Riot Games to create this illustration for the community. We're going to be going over the thought process. We're going to be going over all the little Easter eggs I hid in the illustration. And we're also going to be going over the layers in a bit, so you're going to want to stick around for that. But don't skip over, because we got to talk about the sponsor for this video, and they are just so amazing. I love them so much. They are Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co, which are monthly Japanese snack and food subscription boxes. This is the second month that I work with them. I have one more under my sponsor belt, and I'm so sad it's ending because they are just so amazing. So Sakura Co and Tokyo Treat are both two different boxes, because Sakura Co has the more traditional classic Japanese snack and food experience, whereas Tokyo Treat is the more like trendy snacks and foods box. So depending on what your taste is, you can get either one or the other. And it's just so amazing because the quality of these boxes is incredible. The amount of love and care that is put into them. And not just that, but the quantity. Look at the amount of delicious snacks that you're getting in each box. And it's just so incredible, because if you're somebody that loves Japanese snacks or somebody that has always wanted to try them, this entire set of boxes and snacks is so accessible, so you can get these things delivered straight to your door from Japan. And each box contains a booklet, and this booklet has everything that you need to know about each food and piece and snack and everything in each of your boxes. And everything is just so thought out, if I haven't said that already. Descriptions and food ingredients and allergens, just in case you are somebody with an allergy, you can be rest assured that it will be listed here. And not just that, but they have history and tradition and everything explained here. If you want some more background story as to why these snacks are here, what they do, what they mean, and how to consume them and everything, it's just an incredible box. I wanted to show you some of the stuff that I tried from the boxes. This is a melon soda. Oh my goodness, it was so sparkly, so refreshing and delicious. Oh, and there's Kenny. He's definitely interested in the soda as well, my little kitty. And so you have a little plate that I got from the Sakura Co box. And then these yummy chocolate kind of dumplings were delicious. And then we have some mochi here that is strawberry flavored. Everything is just so yummy. Yeah, they're just so incredible, super accessible. I feel like the price is super reasonable. I definitely encourage you to try them out, give them a shot. Go ahead and check out the links down below. Use my code NIPS for $5 off your box if you are interested. And we'll jump right into the drawing portion now. And finally, we're starting with the drawing portion. And so before we even get started, what I was asked to do was a group picture of Tryndamere, Sejuani, and Ash together in the kitchen cooking. Let them cook! And the reason we were doing this is quite literally let them cook, because the community was voting weekly, if you don't play Legends of Runeterra, on regions, card types, and submitting card text and stuff for a next card that they wanted to see. And so these three champions are from a region in the game called Freljord, which is kind of like a snowy region. And so in the game, if you don't play League of Legends or Legends of Runeterra or anything, there are a bunch of characters that you can put into your decks, and these characters all come from different regions, and your decks are comprised of a maximum of 2 regions, and Freljord is one of those regions. And so the new card that was voted was to be from the region Freljord. And so when I was drawing this, they wanted basically a depiction of the community kind of cooking this new card and this new set of cards that could potentially come out. And so it would be these 3 champions from Freljord in the kitchen doing just that, having fun. And so you'll see me here start to do the thumbnails. And I tend to do much more like loose, very not really important like thumbnails. Sometimes I don't even do them just because I have a pretty clear idea of what I want. But if you're somebody that has worked with a company or just a client in general, it's pretty customary for you to deliver some thumbnails around 3 to 5 to kind of give the customer an idea of what they will be getting and what they can see, and just give them a choice to really see which one matches their vision best. And because of this, I was just so worried because I don't usually make very like clear thumbnails, and I really wanted to provide the best quality that I could without going so far into making the thumbnails basically mini illustrations. And if you know anything about me, if you follow me on social media, you'll know that I play this game a lot. And you'll know that I love card games in general. I love Magic. I love, I loved Hearthstone because I quit that game. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! All the card games. And so Legends of Runeterra is my favorite card game at the moment, and has been for a while. And so when I was reached out to by Riot Games to do this, I was just so incredibly honored and excited, and I really just wanted to do my best. And so all of that to say that this thumbnail process was very much stressing me out, because I just wanted to try and go above and beyond for this drawing and these thumbnails and everything. And one of the things is that the angle of the drawing in general and the composition, I really wanted it to be similar to kind of their splash arts, if that makes sense. And so I wanted something where you could be like in the drawing and you have your very clear foreground, midground, background, and that it could feel like you're there cooking with them. So I wanted something like where the angle was you were like on the table essentially. And I wasn't sure if to go with like the 2-point, 1-point perspective, maybe even 3-point at some point, no pun intended. So I was very much struggling, and as you can see, this is something that I don't normally do. I normally just eyeball it, and that is a horrible habit. Don't do that, okay? Take the time, learn it, and of course there's nothing wrong with not knowing it, you know, that isn't what art is about for everybody. But if you're somebody that does like to draw this sort of thing and you do want to get better, don't slack. Actually learn your perspectives and where things go and how they sit and stuff, because it will make your drawings feel very much more tangible. And I really should take more time to do this. And one of the hardest things for me, I think, when I do these things isn't necessarily the background, it's putting the people in the background. I don't know if anybody else struggles with this, but I don't know why I find it unreasonably difficult to get people to look normal in backgrounds, especially after I've drawn the perspective lines and template, which I feel like should be the opposite. I feel like it should be easier once you have that, right? Like that's the whole point. But yeah, so you'll see me go back and forth between a lot of the thumbnails. And this one turned out to be my favorite thumbnail. You see that I put like a lot of work into this one. You'll see the other ones are kind of a little looser. I sent this one in before I sent the other ones, and they were like, you might be going a little too far with this one. Just keep it simple. We just want to get a good idea. And I was like, oh no. So this is the one that we do end up going with. So I'll describe this one a little bit more. I'll see if I could put the cards in the top left somewhere, so that way, if you're not familiar with the game, you can more or less see all the little references and the Easter eggs that I put in, because as somebody who's part of the community, not just somebody who was hired to draw this drawing, but somebody who is an active part of the community, I really wanted to put a lot of love into this and put a lot of references and stuff that other people kind of would catch if you really played the game. And it was so cute because when I posted this, so many people were trying to find all the little Easter eggs and all the cards. And so to set the scene, we have Tryndamere in the middle, and he looks really, really pumped. And in the game, he has a spell because every character, like this is called a champion, and then their cards have champion spells that relate and belong with the champion. And so his champion spell is called Battle Fury, and it's basically just him just powering up, leveling up and everything. So I thought it would be fun to include that there. We have Sejuani on the right trying to catch the hunting boar that is trying to escape from being cooked. And on Sejuani's hands are mittens made from her champion spell called Fury of the North. So I thought that would be cute. And then we have on the left Ashe, which is canonically Tryndamere's partner, and she is looking down at a book that is going to later, I'm gonna have some scribbles on it and stuff, that is supposed to be Tall Tales, this card called Tall Tales, and I'm gonna put those drawings onto the page. And her champion spell is a Frostbite, which makes any card's attack 0. And it was supposed to be on her hand that is touching Tryndamere because he's like up in flames, pumped up. And it was supposed to be her pointing it at him to kind of cool him down. But the way that the composition was going, it was just like not working out. So I decided to not put it there. And then she has an arrow because she's an archer. An ice archer, because as we said earlier, it is like an icy region. And so I ended up swapping the hand that is pointing down at the book into her holding a pen that looks like the arrow, which I thought was pretty cute. And then on the left, you see that I added a character kind of hanging off her back, which is Gnar. They asked if I could include Gnar or Poro King if there was space. And so I decided to put a little Gnar there on the side. Super, super cute. And you'll see in the reference that he has like a little bone skeleton thing hat on his head. And I just started to turn that into kind of like a chef's hat. And then here in the foreground, you see already the drawing kind of shaping up. This is Frostcoat Cub. And I really wanted some like cute foreground stuff happening. And that wasn't like too distracting from the drawing. And I thought this would be perfect because a lot of the new stuff and cards that were coming out had to do with the new champion, Poro King. And so because the new champion is Poro King, they had a lot of cool new Poro snacks designs. So I'll show you the original one, and then all the new ones that came out are so colorful, they're so pretty. And so I was really, really excited to put those there on display. And I didn't want to just like put them there on the table. I wanted to kind of have some things interacting with it and maybe have some cute interactions in the foreground that kind of completed that dimension of the composition, or that layer of the composition. And so it'll be Frostcoat Cub, and then you'll see later I add a Poro, also trying to reach for the snacks because they are called Poro snacks. So there will be that. And then here I start refining the Gnar. Originally, Gnar was just kind of hanging on to Ashe's shoulder and just looking cute. And I decided to give him a little bit more reference to some of the other cards. And The card that I decided to reference with him is called Pokey Stick, which isn't a Freljord card, it's a Vandal City card, but it is his champion spell, so I thought it would be really cute. Right here, we don't have it quite yet, but later I decide to kind of add it in. So I erase one of the hands that he has on her shoulder, and I kind of extend it out, and he's holding the stick, a little pokey stick, and I turn it into like a cooking spoon. So it's a pokey spoon, if you will. And at this point, we are already decided on this thumbnail, and we're kind of trying to bring it to a kind of more refined sketch state so we can start working on the lines and the colors and just finishing the piece in general. Now, the thing here is that I am kind of scared about the fidelity and the finished quality of this piece, because this piece I did not have as much time as I would have liked to put into it. I'm kind of a combination of a really slow and a really fast worker. So if I'm kind of in my comfort zone, I tend to work pretty fast. And if I'm like trying to push myself a bit, I work incredibly slow, like very, very slow. And for this piece, I was doing a little bit of both. So I was kind of in my comfort zone as far as like expressions and dynamism goes, but I was pushing myself pretty hard as far as like the actual composition, perspective, and kind of coloring / lighting. And one of the reasons I was kind of experimenting is because I knew that if I did it in my normal style, I would not have time to finish the whole drawing in the way that I wanted. And so I tried to cut back a little bit on the way I normally do lines and colors. So I wanted to just make it look very neat and very nice and clear without putting in like 70 hours of work in the time frame that I had. And so I ended up being able to come up with something really, really nice. I am proud of the efforts that went into it and what I was able to come up with in the time frame and for how much I pushed myself. But I feel like this drawing just could have been so much better if I had just a little more time, and if maybe I hadn't experimented a little too much and just like slightly more with my comfort zone. But I'm happy that I did leave the comfort zone, because I think a lot of good things came out from that. There's still more references we're going to touch on, so I'm waiting for those things to pop up on the screen so that we can talk about them a little more. And as I say that, we have a couple more showing up on the screen. So you'll see here me changing the hand to the Frostbite hand. So I'll have it there on the top left. That's her champ spell. And I thought this interaction would be so cute. And I tried to find a way to do this without making it look awkward. And it was just a little strange, because it was going to be that plus the bone club, which you'll see that I'm going to put in his hand later. And it just didn't, it looked like a very crowded area of the drawing. So I decided not to go with it, and the anatomy was a little bit off. So that's something that I was a little bit sad didn't get included, because it was such a cute idea. And then you'll see I added the little Poro, and the Poro has a crown because Poro King was coming out at the time, and I wanted to make a little reference to it. And Poro King is a very large character, so Poro King was not going to fit in this drawing, so I decided to just make a tiny little Poro, which is what canonically Poros are pretty cute and tiny, and just give it the same crown that Poro King has. And so I think I was pretty happy with just that small little homage. And then we have the heart on Trinimir's apron, which is the heart from Feel the Rush. And this one, this sort of inclusion I was kind of sad with, because you'll see as the drawing goes on that I kind of struggle with the colors for the aprons, and now I'm remembering that you might not actually be able to see that part of the process, because that was something I was going to mention once we got to the end. But this file, these video files towards the end got corrupted, and I'm incredibly upset that this happened, because I lost hours and hours of footage, and I was just so excited to get this out to you. And I basically lost the entire shading and coloring process, which was, I would say, the most I don't know that I would say the most interesting part, but it was kind of what brought the whole drawing together. And so I'm really sad that we lost any footage, period. I wish I'd still had all of it. And so I was thinking that instead of that, once we get to the ending part, I could maybe go over the layers a little bit, so you guys can see more or less what my layers ended up looking like in the end, and just kind of taking a couple minutes to go over them. But yeah, it is very sad. I didn't even realize they were kind of corrupted. They were just all black screens, so I'm not sure if it was just the recording, the program, what it was. But my editor was like, why are all these videos, and it was like 12 of them. It was like, why is this video to this video? Why are they all just black screens? I was like, excuse me, what? And I just started panicking, because I just upload it onto the drive and then I delete them from my computer, so that way they don't take up space. And well, he was like, well, I hope you have extra copies on your drive. And I was like, I do not, because I'm not a responsible adult. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll still be able to do something fun with going over the layers at least. So you'll see me adding all the colors here to the Poro snacks, and you'll see all the different Poro snacks. I don't know if we'll put all the specific ones earlier. Maybe we can put them here so you guys can see all the different ones. But they're so cute and so well done. You have the little mantle from those as well, kind of draping over the box that is holding them. And we also have the reference to a deck called Ash LeBlanc. And Ash LeBlanc is a deck with champions Ash, which is the one here on the left, and then a champion called LeBlanc. But LeBlanc is from Noxus. That's the region that she's from. And it is a very, very popular deck. It's a classic. It's timeless. And so I felt like it would be kind of cute to kind of include just a little bit of an homage to her. And when I did all the Easter eggs on Twitter, I feel like this one and one other one were the most difficult to spot, because they were very niche. And I'm not drawing very niche. Niche is not the word. Maybe it's like obscure. It was kind of obscure. And you'll see later, because I don't add it here, but she has a little charm, a bracelet charm, with LeBlanc's red gem from her crown, and there was only one person who was able to spot it, so that was pretty cool. Then you'll see here on the bottom right, we have the overwhelm and the regen keywords. Now, in this game, there are these things called keywords, and what they do is basically they give your cards like special properties. So things like the overwhelm one, which is the orange one, it means that when the card does damage to the other card, if there's any leftover damage, it does it to the player's health as well. So there are little things like that. And regen and overwhelm are two very popular keywords for this region. So I thought it would be really cute to add little kind of pots, containers, as if they were like seasoning. They were like seasoning their food with these keywords, because those are the popular ones for this region. And then right next to them is the other hardest one, little Easter egg. And I think that's to no fault of the audience. I think that one I just ended up coloring a little too dark and obscure, so you couldn't really tell what they were. But they're supposed to be the wording stones, salt shakers, salt and pepper shakers. And I thought it was really cute. It was clever, but you'll see here with the lines, maybe it's a little more clear, but I think the way it was colored and shaded and everything made it a little too hard to see that, but still thought it was a cute idea. Then you'll see in front this little flask sort of thing that you have there is Elixir of Iron. It's another popular card. And then on the right, you have this kind of open spilled bottle that says ramp on it. And in this game, you have every single turn, you have mana that you can use in general, and every single turn you gain 1 mana. And you have cards that allow you to gain mana faster, so you don't have to wait turns to gain this mana. And Freljord is a region that is known for that, because Freljord's units tend to be very large, and so you want to be able to ramp up to more mana so that you can summon your bigger units because they cost mana. And so I thought it would be kind of cute to put a little bottle that says ramp on it, and those little blue circles are the spell mana, the little mana bubbles. So it's like they're putting mana onto their food. And then the purple gem is a card called Catalyst of Aeons that basically you heal yourself and you gain an extra mana crystal. And so it's basically all being put together in a bottle called Ramp, you know, because you're trying to gain all that mana. And I thought that was cute. And speaking of Ramp, to the boar, also a ramp card. When it dies, you gain a mana crystal. So all the ramp cookage. And I thought all these references were really cute. I think that was like one of the most fun things about creating this piece, was just finding ways to insert all the little treats and everything from the region, from the way the decks are played. So the heart that is on Trinimir's apron is from Feel the Rush, like I said earlier, but Feel the Rush is a card that is used in a very popular deck with champions Tryndamere and Trundle. And it's just like Ashe LeBlanc, another iconic deck. And so I was like, there's no way that I make this drawing and don't include this somewhere. So there it is. And here you'll see me finally including her arrow and changing the hand from pointing to grabbing. Originally, I was going to put it on her hair, so like behind her ear, just kind of sitting there. But I figured that it would be nicer to have her hand be a little bit more dynamic and be doing things rather than just pointing at the book. So I thought that balance there to keep the top less crowded, since we have Nar with the hat and then the pokey stick, the pokey spoon. So I figured we just kind of distribute the stuff a little bit better. And then moving on, we're going on to Tryndamere, and I want to say that the Tryndamere was a lot harder to draw than I wanted, because I am just, one, I'm not very good at drawing incredibly buff characters. I can draw buff characters, but not as large as Tryndamere. And not only did I have to draw him this way, but I had to draw him in perspective. And I feel like this is something I should be able to do effortlessly at this point. But I struggled, okay? I will admit I did struggle. So I did struggle quite a bit, but I am happy with how his face and general body turned out. His hand took me a little bit because I wanted a specific vibe to it, and I don't know that I managed to iron that out, but in general, pretty happy with how he came out, because he was the one I was worried about the most. I was like, oh my goodness, and he's in the center. So I really have to nail this or the drawing is just not going to look good at all. So that was exciting and that was relieving. So then we have Sejuani on the side, and we're finishing up Nar's little chef hat here. He has a little bone. I wanted to do something a little more creative with this than straight up just doing his bone hat thing and just adding a chef's hat thing on top, but nothing came to me, so I decided to just plain and simple, you know, put his little bone hat, make it a chef hat, and be done with it. With Sejuani, I wanted to originally make it slightly more cartoony and more fun, just like the boar, because I wanted to keep this whole drawing lighthearted. They told me to keep it lighthearted. We don't want to, like, you know, like make it too serious, like if they're actually hurting the boar or doing anything, you know. So I wanted to make sure that I kept the vibes very, very fun. And she was also pretty far away from the general center of the focus. And so I was like, oh, maybe we should just keep her face like slightly more chibi-fied. But I kind of started to experiment with a not cartoony face. And I'm so glad I did, because I ended up really liking how her face turned out. It feels a lot better, and just keeping the boar the most cartoony. So we are just starting to put the flats, and I think this drawing, I was working on it and I was just laughing because, like, I really had to do everything but the characters until the end, because the characters were the hardest part for me, and normally that is not really like the case. And I really had to get the perspective down and make sure everything was as good as I could get it, okay? I'm not saying it's completely accurate, because I know the perspective is probably horribly off, especially for the background. But I wanted to make sure that it was as solid as possible so I could put my characters into a scene that was more fleshed out. And so I really spent a lot of time doing the boar, the poro snacks, the cub, doing the seasonings on the table, the books, everything. And once I felt comfortable there, I went to work on Tryndamere and making sure that the center of the drawing, was more fleshed out, and then it was easier to just kind of plop Sejuani, Nar, and Ash on the sides to really just complement the piece. And once I started getting everything going, I think is when the panic started to set in. So you'll see me here like working in black and white to try and understand the values of this drawing. A lot of the times I do not do this step. I do not do black and white, which I think is good practice. And if you're somebody that does illustrations, you'll probably know if you do it, and if you don't, you'll definitely feel it, how important it is to feel out the values for your illustration, especially the more complicated it gets. The more characters, the more light sources, the more dimensions, angles, and all of that it has. It is, I feel, so crucial to understand how everything balances each other out in black and white. And once you get used to it, you know, there are, you know, you don't have to do that. I mean, you don't really ever have to do that, but there are people, same thing as like color theory and all of that, you know, it just kind of becomes second nature and then you don't have to do it. But I really don't do it as often as I should. And I usually pull out the black and white guns during these really large illustrations. And it really helps. It helps to visualize where I'm going to be doing my darks, my lights, my focus, my blurring, my saturated colors, desaturated colors. And so I did that more or less to get a vibe early on, because when you see it like this, just flat colored, it feels like it's very clunky. Like you see this without any shading and it looks incredibly clunky. And a lot of the times it's hard to picture what it's gonna look like without some sort of like sample or anything, and I start to panic. Usually I have a good idea in my head and I don't need to do that, but when it gets this crowded, I start to panic and not trust myself. So I really had to stop like mid-drawing to kind of reaffirm that everything is going to be okay and that it's gonna look fine. So once I got kind of that concept down, I started to just keep going, move around, and you'll notice that I didn't finish my line art, do flats, do black and white, do this, and that I was just hopping around. And I think that this is one of like the biggest things that I usually mention on stream, because people will see me do it, and rarely do I do it on YouTube because I don't like do super big illustrations that often. But a lot of the times, like, I'll jump around in the drawing and not finish entirely every portion. And it's because the momentum, I think, in art at least, because that's what we're talking about, is super important. So I realized that when I get tilted and I get like stuck on something, if I try to just keep going and force it, I lose it. Like, I don't even want to keep drawing anymore. And so in order to keep your spirits up, I find it pretty helpful to kind of just put that section down for a second, go somewhere else, kind of get that ball rolling, and then once I'm feeling better, I can come back to it or go somewhere else and just constantly keep momentum, like keep moving forward, because it's just so demoralizing if you're just working on a part, can't get it right, you just keep going, you've wasted a lot of time already, and it's just very, very hard to feel good after that and to feel motivated and compelled to move forward. So I think there's definitely science to this. I'm not sure where I got that from, but yeah, so it definitely helps. So if you're somebody that feels like you get stuck and then you don't want to keep doing your drawing, try it out, and hopefully that will be helpful to you. And so we are still working on our Trinomere, adding the bone club, trying to finalize the rest of the lines. We're almost done. And we're almost done with the non-corrupted footage. So shortly after this, we will have no more footage. And I'm so sad because if you look at it here, we have no shading, have no background, almost anything at all. And I'm just so sad that this is all we have, because the coloring process was so fun and there was a lot to kind of learn from when I did it. And all of this has been pretty, I want to say, basic to my process. So if you've watched my videos, you'll probably have seen that process many times. So pretty sad about that. But we are going to do a little layer deep dive summary sort of situation, so that way you guys can kind of get a feel for the rest of the layers and what it looked like, and maybe we can do a mini process that way, and then we'll conclude the video. So let's hop into the layers. Okay, so here we are in the layer breakdown section. Now, this is a little intimidating even for me, because I forgot how many layers were in this drawing. Oh my lord. So it's a little bit hard to get to where we were initially, since a lot of the stuff has been merged and kind of duplicated, half finished. So we have a plain background right now for the background. We'll get to that in a second. We have most of our flats set in. Now this foreground layer, you'll see that I didn't remove the shading or anything, and it's blurred. And one of the reasons why I didn't actually have it ready is because it's called a smart layer. And this was something that I learned, I think, when I was doing either the Beastars piece or the Anya Pim ramen piece, is that a lot of the times, I don't know if any of you feel this when you're doing digital pieces, that you want to be able to blur something without ruining the layers and the separation and everything. You don't want to have to merge, blur, and then if you want to change something, you have to go back and then merge it again and blur it. So if you turn the whole folder into a smart layer, you basically are working in a new file, and everything in here will be blurred. So you'll see like there's a blur smart filter, and here it's not blurred. So basically I have this foreground layer in its own thing, and you'll see that this is what it looks like. I love how it looks without the shading, because you get to see the treats and everything more clearly. But it is very much in the foreground, so it is very, very dark and blurred out, but I absolutely love how that part looks there. And we have a lot of the shading here as well, done, blurred, and completed. And before I get into anything else, you'll see a lot of the flats here for the aprons and stuff is not complete. I removed a lot of the extra flat colors so you can kind of start to see. Here we go. I ended up having to change the designs and the colors of the aprons because I wanted something fun, but it turns out that the picture looked a little too crowded when I did that. So I ended up going with just flat white. I think it's just the classic apron look, and it made the drawing feel a little less crowded. I feel like maybe if I was better at designing, I could have kind of kept them with their fun apron designs, but for now I decided to just keep it simple. We have Nar with a little apron as well, and then I went ahead and started adding our little designs. This is the FTR. It turned from the big heart to a smaller heart, and then we go in, we added our three sisters. So Sejuani, Ash, and Lysandra are part of the three sisters. So this is Ash's bow and arrow, and then we have Sejuani's, and then Lysandra's not here. So then we go ahead and we add our shading. And the reason it looks like this is because I had like a giant kind of window roof situation happening here, because there is a Freljord card called War Mother's Call. And I'll show you in a second. It's the Aurora Borealis. So I'm adding all the layers and the light and stuff so you guys can see how that works. And then we'll come here to the background and you'll see that I've added it here. So we'll probably put the card in the top left so you guys can see as well. I started adding all the wood framing, the windows and everything, and I really wanted to keep this simple. So I know the perspective is probably not correct. It's just kind of like thrown on, and pretty much like I blurred it out, added some gradients and stuff to just kind of keep the focus on the character still, but so that you can have some fun background action. We added the Battle Fury orange on top to get really that vibe going. And here's where I started adding some kind of screen tone textures. I wanted to keep the drawing still more fun, add a little more spice, but keep it loose and casual. And I thought that adding the little screen tone dots and stuff would be fun. I did the same thing with adding some random colored brush strokes. I thought it made it look a little more paintery. We have our character outlines and stuff to really bring out the foreground and the characters and the action. Then we have the whole Omen Hawk here, which is a card that I really wanted to add and make more obvious, but I was struggling. So it's just a random bird silhouette, but some people caught on who that was, so that was pretty fun. And this is what it was supposed to be, but it didn't look very good, so I decided to just remove it. But Omen Hawk has these like glowy blue things kind of popping out from under its wings, so that would have been cool. And so once we have that, I added some fun lighting to make it seem like, you know, we've got some just central warm lighting. Really bring your eyes to the center. And then we merged. So a lot of the times once I have like the whole thing set, we're gonna go ahead and hide everything so you can see. We duplicate the layer, we go in, we start fixing things all together. And then I go in and start adding and painting on top on a merged layer. I feel like things become more simple. This is the Tryndamere. Tryndamere has long hair, so I went ahead and added his hair there. We added the shiny squiggles from the Battle Fury eyes. We added some extra glow here. We've got the axe in the back, the butcher's knife. And then we've made this a little bit darker just so that it separates a little bit more from our central action here. We've got the tall tales. I was talking about earlier, the card tall tales. Now it's got the little drawings on the book. And then we go ahead and start fixing up the colors, adding more contrast, start adding finishing details, our gradient maps, and then the final touch and piece is this one. And I'm honestly so proud of how this came out. It's not my best work, I would say. I really wanted to keep pushing on this with more time, but I'm really proud of what I delivered. It's such a fun piece. It really reminds me how much I like doing group shots and just everybody having a good time, and a lot of dynamic action and little details put into the drawing. So yeah, it was really fun. And of course, the biggest Easter egg of all, my signature in the paper. Yeah, cute stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. An honor to create a piece for my favorite card game, Legends of Runeterra. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully it wasn't too long. Again, thank you so much to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring this video. I will leave all the links down below if you guys want to check out their boxes. Use my code to subscribe and get your treats delivered from Japan to your doorstep to enjoy. Thank you guys again for watching. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Like the video if you liked it. And subscribe. Join the Nippy family. The more, the merrier. And see you guys next video. Bye.